one that can speak for me. I have a say in my own destiny. Here on the job, no, it is not hard to see that it's the union of our hearts that makes.
Welcome to Labor's View. The show is brought to you by the very, very hard-working members of Local 1081 of the Communications Workers of America. They work for the Essex County Division of Welfare. They are the non-managerial employees of that agency. This evening, it's my pleasure to have as our guest Marilynn English,
Yes.
with whom I've spoken numerous times, mostly through emails, but had never met until today. So, once again, hello. It's good to meet you.
Great to meet you.
We said we would, and we have. Much as I am, only in her own unique fashion, Marilynn is, if I can say it, a bit of a gadfly, governmental gadfly. I mean that with all due respect, because I consider myself the same, and also a candidate for county executive for the County of Essex. Why don't you give us some background on yourself, please?
Okay, I was have an Italian dad, a German mother, brought up in Jersey City, wonderful family, went to work at JP Morgan, became an assistant vice president, left there when my dad got ill and decided to not go back and joined the mortgage industry, where I am currently having my own company in this very difficult arena. I was a guest panelist on Real Talk discussing predatory lending in 2007. I was also a Star Ledger, subject of a Star Ledger article, Buyer Beware, in 2007 as well. I've written to governors many times regarding the industry and seeing where it was going, and no one listened, and look where we are now.
2008, it hit the fan, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay. And I have done a lot of volunteer work, with several different organizations. It's all in my bio. I started getting involved with the county government. I'm a member of the Verona Rent Board since 1983, Rent Control Board. I was also a member of the Budget Review Committee, 84, 85, I believe, then they dismantled that. And I started getting involved with the county when it started with the deer hunt in 2008, I believe, was the first deer hunt in West Orange. And he was expanding to Essex County, to Hilltop and I can't think of the name of the park.
Cedar Grove?
No,
Oh.
Hilltop and Eagle Rock.
Oh, Eagle Rock.
Eagle Rock.
You say he was the county executive?
Yeah, Judd DiVincenzo.
Okay.
And the reasons he gave were not correct. And I have spent 2 years getting Open Public Records Act requests and reading the papers and researching and finding out that a lot of things that he says are not exactly correct.
Okay, well, dealing with the deer, being a vegetarian, a vegan myself, I'm opposed to the deer hunt and bear hunts, but you found, when you say that he wasn't correct, basically you're saying that the justification for having hunters with guns, or is it bow and arrow?
Guns.
Guns, in relatively close suburban areas is not needed, right? There are other means of controlling the population?
Correct. He was saying that Gonacon is not approved. It's a contraception that you inoculate. He was saying that it's too expensive. They were actually saying it was $10,000 a piece, and it's really about $600. It's also better on a herd that has not yet been hunted. I did meet with Tony DiNicola, who does White Buffalo. He does the program for the state. He also did a pilot program for the state, which I didn't know about until March, where it was a 5-year study. And he killed some deer. He also inoculated with Spayvac and Gonacon 13 deer, and over the 5-year period they never conceived. So the program does work. Joe had also said that the hunt was free because he had volunteer hunters, and having worked at Morgan and done budgets, I know nothing's free. So I did my first Oprah request on that in 2008 and found out that yes, it was $140,000 the first year. Second year more, and now we're over $350,000. We could have spayed and or neutered and or inoculated for much less, probably maybe max of $60,000. In addition to the fact that children in West Orange that have it on tape were traumatized by the deer being injured, bleeding, dying in their backyards. We have the same problem in Verona. We had 6 animals get away. Some died in backyards of people, a couple in Cedar Grove. We have one gentleman who purchased a house right on Hilltop, right in front of Hilltop, the last house on the corner, before the reservation starts. Spent $1 million, $30,000 in taxes, moved from Hudson County. He wanted to be near wildlife, and he woke up and blood in his backyard and shots, and he's still upset. So because of people like him, and the many people who have contacted us over the course of the hunt, we have like 4,000 people who signed a petition. And the towns didn't listen. We went to Verona, we went to Cedar Grove. West Orange is probably the only town that did listen. We went to Verona, Cedar Grove, we went to the Freeholder Board, and they did nothing. They really didn't care. It's like people, they're elected officials to represent the people, but they don't represent the people. They represent their own special interests. That's what I'm understanding.
And so as you developed this interest in and concern about an opposition to the hunt, or hunts, because there have been more than one,
Several.
You started looking in other areas of the government.
Correct.
What have you found?
I found that everyone's hurting as far as I know, especially in Essex County. And I found money being spent on things we don't need, don't want, and can't afford at this juncture. For instance, I'll start with Kipps Castle. Someone called me a few weeks ago and said she and her husband were up in Kipps Castle, and there's not one park bench. So I drove up. And I know that the County of Essex purchased it because they didn't want to develop it. And that's wonderful. But I don't understand why they paid more for it than it was appraised at. Anyone in real estate knows that you don't pay more for something that's worth a lot less. He paid $5.6 million for it. The sellers were one of his donors to his campaign. He
It was a law firm, right?
Stenziel, Tobier, and Schwartz. He claims that he actually went on cable TV in Verona on the Chamber of Commerce stating that it was appraised at 8.3. It's not true. It was listed for sale at one time at 8.3 million, never sold. They personally listed it themselves, a law firm, for 4.8 nationwide on castles around the world, castles this, castles that. And it was appraised at, there were 2 appraisals done, 2 appraisals done, but 2 different parts of each appraisal. One as is and one highest and best use, which is used in commercial properties. Highest and best use was subdivision. It was purchased with open space money to keep it as is. The as is value was 4.7 from one appraisal and 3.8 from the other. So we paid 5.6. Great to buy it, but why did we spend the money? And then it was supposed to be for a park. So you ring the bell at the castle, and it's closed to the public, and there are 6 employees from the county in there.
Right.
And then you go over to the carriage house, and you walk in, and there are about 10 employees of the county in there. So I just don't understand why we use open space money to buy an office building for Joe DiVincenzo in Essex County.
Is this atypical of what you found?
No, it's not. I mean, the thing is, then we have Iris Gardens. Now, Iris Gardens is
The Presby's Garden.
Iris Presby Gardens was purchased for 1.1 million, and that was appraised for 830,000. Again, 2 appraisals: highest and best use, subdivision, and as is. And the interesting thing about that is the law firm representing the seller is the law firm where the husband of Lori Tanner works, and she is the chairman of the Open Space Trust Fund. So I'm trying to find out, and the attorney's working on that, if it was disclosed to everyone, you know, that Stenziel owned it, he's a donor to Joe D. If Lori Tanner's relationship with the husband and the law firm was mentioned, because she is the chairman of the Open Space Trust Fund. I've looked at the Open Space Trust Fund. Everyone on there is a friend of his, a donor of his, an
Just
employee of
explain
his.
what that is.
The Open Space Trust Fund is the group that is supposed to be approving the spending of open space money.
Which is obtained, it's a 1% tax on all county
Correct.
residents.
As long as the voters approve it. 61% of residents want open space money to go to preserving open space, preserving wildlife, and preserving wildlife habitat. And he's using it to, he used open space money to kill the deer. The overtime for the Parks Department and the Parks Department went to killing deer. And I just find that disgusting. He also is using it for the golf course, the miniature golf course in South Mountain Reservation, where he took down 100 trees. Apparently, I'm waiting for that exact number, maybe more. He's putting a parking lot over the open space that's there now for a miniature golf course. That's costing us $4.7 million, and I don't understand that. Jersey City just put in one for $50,000. And we have another miniature golf course in Roseland at the Environmental Center, which is less than 2 miles away. So we can't afford this at this juncture. We cannot afford the things that he wants to do. Granted, they're nice things to do. Too expensive, the county's broke, the residents are broke, everyone's hurting. And believe me, I am not a politician. I don't want to even be involved with politics, but there are too many nice, wonderful people I've met through this whole 2-year window here that I just have to do something, and I can't sit back and do nothing because I could never live with myself. I don't know. I can tell people are telling me you'll never win, you don't have any money. Yeah, we don't have any money. But you know, all we need are votes. If people vote, we can actually pull this off. And you'll see a major change. We have an entire freeholder board. From what I understand, Joe, the administration is the county executive, the legislative branches are the freeholders, correct? Okay. So now, the freeholders are all Democrats. So from what I'm gathering, and from what I've seen and what I've read, and having attended meetings myself, they just rubber stamp whatever he wants. And I have a problem with that. We have more non-affiliated registered voters in New Jersey, in Essex County right now, a lot more than we have Democrats or Republicans. But every side is not represented. And I have a problem with that as well. You go to town meetings and people don't listen to you. They roll their eyes. I mean, there was a situation in Montclair where they just rolled their eyes at some guy, and I called the mayor and the township and councils, and I said, everyone has the right to speak. Public speaking is very difficult as it is to get up there and roll your eyes at people when they're trying to make a statement.
You're talking about that town's legislature.
Yeah, but everyone, every town does it, except probably West Orange. West Orange probably has, in my opinion, one of the best councils. But Verona has rolled their eyes at people. They rolled their eyes at me. Cedar Grove has rolled their eyes at people like, why are you here? Why are you bothering us? And people are embarrassed or afraid to go up. And now they're at the point where it's so financially bad, they're getting up and they're yelling and they're upset and they're angry. And are people listening? Probably not. And I think that for the first time we have a chance to actually make a difference. As I said, all I can do is educate the public on what is going on, where the money's going, what is being spent, and they can make a decision in November to still vote same old, then they shouldn't complain about where their finances are and how in debt we are. We have, what, $1 billion in bond debt, probably more.
I think it's a little more.
Because they wouldn't answer me on Thursday night when I asked how much we incurred between January and now.
Well, I don't know that much. I think the total bond indebtedness for the county, everything included, is a little more than $1 billion.
And that's the highest in the state, I believe.
I don't know.
That's what
I'd focus on Essex.
But that's pathetic. It really is. And then if you drive up to Kibbs Castle on any given day, which I do now, you'll see 8 to 10 county cars up there. Why do people need county cars if they're working at I don't understand why you need a county car unless you're in a position that needs a county car. We have a $2 million Hess gas bill for county cars.
Per year?
Yeah.
You were telling me about...
it's nuts.
You saw a lawn service. Tell me that. Tell us that story.
We have a budget of 11 odd million for the Parks Department. He moved out, Joe DiVincenzo moved out 5.2 million into the Open Space Trust Fund. So it really would have been a $16 million budget. The other day I'm driving to my friend's house, going up to Pompton Avenue, and I see this Schorger, is that it? Schorger yes. Truck. I stopped it and I asked this very nice gentleman, I will not give his name, I don't want him fired. And I asked him what he was doing there, and he said they maintain all of the parks for the county. I said, well, I thought we had a parks department doing that. And he said, no, we do all the parks. We maintain, we do the landscaping, we do everything. And I was quite surprised. And their budget is like, what, $7 million, I believe? I think I said $7 million something dollars.
I think that was just one contract.
$5,863,582.57 with another $725,000 for Schorger cleaning services. I don't know what that is.
Well, as I understand it, Schorger was I've done a lot of research on this as well. And Schorger started by a husband-wife team. They pride themselves. If you look at the website, to say they started a little old Mazda truck and had no money, and eventually they got lots of contracts, a lot of county contracts, and they have at least 2 subsets of the company. And I know the wife is the name person on one because she's listed as a minority, therefore, as a woman in a minority firm. And they have servicing parks, they have construction, they do a lot of stuff. I mean, and they get a lot of county contracts.
They also are big donors to Joe's campaign.
I haven't seen that ELEC. Have you seen that?
I have gone through I have all those copies, yes.
Okay.
I
haven't played with the ELEC in a while, but I've been playing with Oprah. So what else have you noticed?
What else have I noticed? The bond debt, the miniature golf course. Apparently, he was telling people that it's a grant, and based on the papers that I have, which you have a copy there, it's a bond, it's a loan. And when I asked the freeholder board on Thursday how much it is, what the interest rate was, because I calculated the interest rate at 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and 5%. It will cost us about $2.2 million in interest. Mr. McInerney told me it's higher than 5%.
The interest rate on the bond?
Yes.
And this is saying appropriating $4.5 million. And this is for the construction of the miniature golf course. Yeah, I've questioned this as well. And what Joe will say is that, first of all, he always takes a rap because I don't live in the county, but I don't live in the county because of political expediency, because I was politically threatened 20-something years ago for doing the same kind of stuff I've been doing for 25, 30 years by somebody from years ago, not Joe. And but he says that he wants to have nice things for the people of Essex County. And my expression in the paper has been niceties, but not necessities, which is akin to what you were saying before.
Well, the thing is, it's great to have nice things, but if people are working 2 jobs because they can't afford to live here, they can't afford the nice things. Now, last week, 2 weeks in a row, I went to the Brookdale Park for the concert in the park and the fireworks. And I introduced myself, handed out literature. 75% of the people were from different counties. 25% were from Essex County. And we're paying, I have an Oprah request open for that to find out what the overtime was. There were about 50 sheriff's officers there. They were cleaning the parks until 3 in the morning. It's great to have it, but if you ask people, would you rather have lower taxes? They say they'd rather have lower taxes than one concert in the park. And then there's another situation where there's another gentleman who works for the Parks Department. He's authorized to spray the simazine and Roundup all over the reservations, which could cause the demise of the reservations as well. It also causes cancer. Research that one. Makes $84,000 a year, and he received overtime from the deer hunt. But the interesting thing is there were 4 companies outsourced to spray these things, herbicides, pesticides, and mosquito repellent around the county. So now why do we have 4 other companies doing it for the same cost of his salary? See, I don't understand the double dipping.
Again, I'm just listening. I don't know the answers to these things
and,
either.
I mean, who was watching, besides me, and me and you, who was questioning any of this? That's
not
what
many
scares
people.
me.
Yeah, not many people.
And I go to the freeholder board. 9 of us went in February. We asked questions, and they didn't have answers. They did send us an answer that didn't say anything. And I went there again on Thursday night at the Senior Center in Livingston, and I asked them, you know, why would you spend $5.6 million on something that appraised for 4.7? And they all looked at each other and didn't have an answer. How much bond debt do we have? They didn't know. How much have we incurred? They don't know. They'll send me a letter. I mean, I know every reason that I voted on the rent board in Verona since '83 and why I voted for it. Because to me, being on that board, which is voluntary, is an important decision for me, and it affects people's lives. Right. Especially the last vote we had where a senior citizen, the owner wanted a 155% increase, and I was the only dissenting vote to say I refused. And we had a two-week meeting on that.
I noticed you have a picture of a sign there. What was that from? Staff parking only.
This is the Kipps Castle.
Oh, is that from Kipps? Okay.
This is from Kipps. Staff parking only and employee. And then this is them employees lounging on the deck. This was supposed to be a park, though, and there's not one park bench, not one park facility. It's been 3 years.
Fairness to the employees, it could have been their break time or lunchtime.
I know, but why are we having employees up there? It's supposed to be a park. Why don't we use it all the time for a park and have it open to the public?
That's a decent question. That I don't know.
Then he spent $50,000 for landscaping for this park for his employees.
Yeah,
I mean,
as you know, I've questioned things like the quality of the signs. I mean, that's a cheap sign, relatively
speaking.
It is.
Oh, you got to see the one going into the park.
Because those ones going in, they're made with the wood on the base is wrapped in mahogany, and the body of it is silver, gold, and platinum. And they're quite expensive. One sign alone was like $5,000. And again, they are very nice, but it's a legacy that I don't think that we can afford, as you say. Now, I come from a different perspective, not totally than you, but my job is to protect my members and their jobs and their salaries and police their contract. And when you have a government that for years cries poor mouth, we don't have any money, but they spend all this money on these niceties but not necessities, that's what gets my goat, if you will. And so we come from a similar perspective, but that's I'm also being, as a vegetarian and a vegan, I relate to the abhorrence of the hunt. It's
especially when there are other methods available.
Yeah.
Now that we have the public golf courses.
Oh yes, the golf courses.
Okay.
For whom they hired a superintendent, never had one for years, $106,000, I think.
And I met a gentleman Saturday who says that he likes the golf course. It's very dead, and it's $14 a day to golf. So you know, based on my numbers, I believe he spent $14 million last year renovating the golf courses, the golf carts, et cetera, and everything else. And I think they're breaking even. I've asked for those numbers, don't have them yet. But I think 1% of the residents use those golf courses. That's pretty sad.
What about the zoo? I was on the zoo for a while.
Well,
even though I haven't been there.
He's having a press conference, another press conference to name the penguins at the zoo.
Oh.
Okay. And I'm waiting. He apparently made a comment that someone in Verona, one of the council members in Verona, mentioned at the meeting that the zoo is making money. So I asked Ken to get me the proof that the zoo is making money. Because what I know from Joe DiVincenzo, he says a lot of things, but most of what he says are not true.
Ken is your attorney?
Ken McKenna is the council person in Verona.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So he announced at a meeting that the zoo is making money. And I sent him an email saying, love email, saying, Ken, can you please get me the records that show that the zoo is making money? We're still waiting.
I have to say one thing, though. In all fairness, I've said this many times on this show, and I might have said it to you. As a manager of these type of products, these projects, Joe D is amazing. I mean, I've watched this government for the last 30-plus years, this particular government, as president of my union. And I've seen how they screwed up the jail. And it was supposed to have been so large, but they had to leave a pot or two out. And it was cost overruns. I've seen all kinds of, the old jail that they built that they had to tear down because of the parking garage, just a piece of garbage when they put it up. But that said, going back to what you're saying, a lot of these projects are not needed and are just not affordable, particularly in these times. You would think that, okay, heading up to 2008, when times were supposedly better, then you have the whole bottom fallout that you were describing in the beginning of the show with your background, and we haven't slowed down with the parks and the zoo. And
well, he hasn't. Most people have, but most people who have homes and trying to keep them have cut down on everything except the county. And I also called the towns to find out what percentage of their tax dollars go to the county. And that number, and I don't understand that, I have to research that, but Verona's 23%, West Orange is 23%, Cedar Grove is 23%, some towns are 11%, Newark is 23%.
I don't know that.
And that's high. We're paying 50% to the schools, 23%, and then we have the towns, and they want to cut libraries in the towns now, they want to cut police force. Why not just cut the county expenses? Leave the police as they are, leave the library as it is, and cut the nonsense that we don't need. I'm sure we can find a way to cut 4 to 5% based on stopping this ridiculousness.
I would hope that the administration, meaning the county executive and the field board, they would start to look towards pulling back, a bit from this growth period, because I don't think we can afford it. Because they'll say that the money comes from Green Acres and from the trust fund. Well, the trust fund is a tax on the people. It's a 1% tax on the people in the county. But once you make these things, you have to maintain them, such as the parks. I think they bonded $7 million this past year for the parks, and regardless of the source of the money and bonding, you got to pay it back. You still have to maintain all these things, or they fall apart. And now you have an outside company, Shulger apparently, doing what the parks guys used to do, and guys who don't make a lot of money, you know, and who live in the county. It just disturbs me that we're moving in a way of spending on the wrong issues and paying for it with debt.
With money we don't have.
Right. Well,
It's like refinancing your house, totally refinancing your house every year to do something, and then after a while, you owe 3 times what you owed before.
well, it's called being underwater, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are in that boat now, and they just walk away.
And you see pages and pages of foreclosures. I mean, I think there's got to be a program, which I'm really good at this stuff. There's got to be a program to help people keep their houses, even a long-term, short-term loan, something that the county can make money and the people can stay in their home. I know people who have good, full doc mortgages who had their hours cut. One guy had colon cancer. He called me, my CPA called me for help. What can we do for him? Banks wouldn't work with him. He was behind 4 months. There's got to be something to help these people that it would be a win-win for both of us. So the county can win and the homeowners can win. But he's more concerned with spending money on things. I just don't get it. I really
Actually,
don't.
to wrap it up, there is a department within the county. I believe it's Community Affairs, Community Development. They do that type of stuff. They get money from the state and other sources, but it's on a very small scale.
I've contacted them for a lot of people.
But you're right. To me, that is where the focus has got to be. I've always said you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. It can't be a one-trick pony. In terms of social services, now that the economy is it's really worse and more than ever, and the focus has not been on social services the way it should have been over the last 8 years. But certainly, looking and reprioritizing the vision for the county is something that I think is sorely needed, and something you seem to be very good at articulating.
And it's going to get worse. This economy is not turning around until 2013, in my opinion. And I see it. I've had, people in good positions losing their jobs and having savings and exhausting their savings trying to stay afloat. And when you're getting hit with a $2,500 a year tax increase, that's just Verona or Cedar Grove. And then you have the county coming in with spending on nonsense. I think it's nonsense at this juncture. We don't need another miniature golf course. I didn't even know we had another one until someone told me, and I went to prove it.
You told me
and I went there myself. I don't. Whenever someone tells me something, I have to do it myself and see it. I don't like hearsay, because that's how you lose credibility. But one thing I have to say, that if he believes so much in what he's doing, why is everything not the truth? I don't get that. Why, if he believed Gibbs Castle was a good deal, why is he telling the public, of course, it was appraised at 8.3? I have the appraisals.
Well, you know what?
It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going to have a bunch of questions for Joe D. He'll be the next invited guest to the show. We've had on Herb Glenn, the Republican opponent. We've had you now, the independent, and we'll invite Joe D. He's been on the show once before many years, so we'll ask him to come on and maybe we'll get some answers.
I'll leave you the appraisals if you'd like to ask.
Thank you. I will.
Okay.
Marilynn English, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And thank you for being Labor's View. I'm David Weiner. Good night.
I have a say in my own destiny. Here on the job, no, it is not hard to see that it's the union.